Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be doing the balance Druid guide that I've promised for so long now. I finally feel confident enough in my rotation and my knowledge of the class to bring you this guide for it. So first of all, let's start with Talons. Talons gonna vary. There's 4 builds you can do. 1 mostly for Mythic Plus, and then 3 for Raid. So for raiding, there's a hybrid build that I recommend for most times if you just want to do good DPS overall on all fights without changing talents each round. And that is going to be the Nature Balance, Starlord, and Stellar Drift. Is your so for the only talents we're going to be focusing on mainly is the 15, 40, and 45 talents. Those are the ones that change the most. I would even say that 15 doesn't change that much. It changes once, and that, as I said, is possibly if you want to take it from Mythic Plus. So mainly the talents you're going to be changing is the 40 and 45 talents. So, as I said, the hybrid build is going to be Nature Balance, Starlord, and Stellar Drift. With that, you get a good amount of single target from the hastes for the Starlord gives you, and Astral Generation, but you can also cleave with Starfall, because Stellar Drift increases the damage of Starfall, and also increases the duration of it, and also makes you able to cast while it's active, which can be useful on a few fights. That's a hybrid build. If you want to go pure single target, then you will be swapping out Stellar Drift for Stellar Flare. You will be keeping Starlord, but this is a pure like single target build, so it's like for, you know, you want to use this on Shriekwing, Devour, and Sludge Fist. Those are the fights. There's probably more, but it's pure single target. You don't want to be using it on anything. If there's more than one target at any situation, you're probably better off just using the hybrid. So that's a single target one. Then the AoE build, you will be taking Soul of the Forest and Stellar Drift instead of Starlord and Stellar Flare. So what that does is Soul of the Forest increases your astral power regeneration from Wrath, and also increases your Starfire's damage in AoE damage. So it's very good for AoE, and then we already know what Stellar Drift does. And so it's very good for AoE. Sun King, there's a few others, like it's purely good for AoE. So these, now, as I said, I recommend the hybrid one because you get the best of both worlds most of the time, and I haven't seen major DPS damage differences with the pure AoE and pure single target talents. I think it's like very marginal, so it's like if you really want to squeeze that last little bit of DPS out of your class, then you use them. Else you can just basically run the hybrid build most of the time. So now for Mythic Plus, as I said, is the only time you would maybe want to switch out Nature's Balance for Treants, or Force of Nature as it's known. And the reason you want to do this is to help your tank in Mythic Plus. As you've probably noticed and seen, tanks get hit very hard by a lot of the mobs, and sometimes CC just doesn't cut it because they're either immune or they break it quickly, or DR is there. So you then can use Treants for them to take aggro for a little bit and alleviate some of the tank's damage he's taking and such. Now obviously if you're tank or you have enough CC and you're not having a problem with that, you can definitely run Nature's Balance. As for the 40 and 45 tier, you want to go with the hybrid one, which is Starlord and Stellar Drift. It's just the best round all for Mythic Plus, since there's bosses and there's trash, and you can't obviously switch talents, you know, every boss, because it's Mythic Plus. So you want the best of both worlds, so there you go there. Now for the other rows that I've skipped or not talked about too much, the 50 tier, there's just no other competition there. That's why it stays at Solstice the whole time. The 25 tier is mostly about movement, and there's one heal. I feel Wild Charge is just the best to get around with. It has gives you a kind of a movement type of thing, like a leap or a charge or something in every form, and just that makes it, I think, personally, the best round all talent to have. But you could also use Tiger Dash. There is situations where Tiger Dash could be better. Or if you feel like you keep dying and you want to heal yourself, then Renewal is also an option. But I feel like you want to maybe just take a movement speed one in this tier, because there are a lot of fights that require you to get in and out quickly, especially during raids. But obviously, as I said, Mythic Plus, Renewal could be the better option, you know, to help your healer out. As for the affinities, the only real ones I would say I recommend you taking is Guardian Affinity or Restoration Affinity, because Guardian gives you that flat 6% damage reduction, and Resto gives you the constant heal from your Sarah's gift. So I feel like those are the ones you really need to be focusing, but once again, it's situational, so if you ever feel you need like a little bit more speed, Feral Affinity is good for that, but I've never like encountered that. As a druid, you've got many other ways to get around, especially with Wild Charge. So yeah, I don't think you'll ever really need Feral as a balanced druid, personally. Then for the 45 row, once again, situational, you got a single target stun, a mass root, or Heart of the Wild. Now, Heart of the Wild obviously increases your affinity as if you're that spec. Once again, making, if you're Guardian or Resto, way better, because let's say your tank dies, you pop Heart of the Wild, you go Bear, you tank for a while, they res, and GG, you're back up, and all is good. All is well. Same with healer, you know, healers are struggling a bit on a fight, they're behind because maybe something happened, then you pop Heart of the Wild, you quickly hop, you know, you cast a few healing spells on people, and you go back and then you DPS further. It's just useful. Guess now that we're done with talents, we're going to be going to conduits. So the conduits you want to be going, so first of all, before we start with conduits, if you're not Night Fae, I recommend going Night Fae if you really want the best DPS out of your Boomkin. It's just the best spec right now, and if you're here, you're probably wondering why. You're probably here to increase your damage, and I recommend going Night Fae 100%. So in the Night Fae, you would want to go with the Nia as your Soulbind. She just has the best things. And the first talent we're looking at is the Grove Invigoration, is the top one. That's just great because it gives you your damage and dealing spells have a chance to give you increased mastery and health. The health is not that important, but the mastery is what you want. And if you convoke, you instantly get 16 stacks and it lasts for 30 seconds. It's just a great talent to have. It's amazing. Because mastery, as I'll give the stat priorities later, but mastery is just top tier for Boomkins. Then second, you want to go for the Potency Conduit, and I recommend you slotting in Conflux of Elements. You would have gotten one from the quests, so you should definitely have a Conflux of Elements. Now, the quality of the one you have is dependent on your luck, unfortunately. Obviously, you want to just use the highest one. And that is a good one because it increases the damage and healing you do during Convoke, so it's just a flat damage for Convoke, basically. If you're lucky enough to get the 200 item level 1, it is a 21% damage increase. It's just great. It's worth taking. Then the other conduit I recommend is like a must-have is Well-Honed Instincts. It's a defensive slot. And why I recommend this is because it's a free oh shit heal when you get low. And because basically what it does is when you fall below 40% health, you cast Frenzy Regeneration up to once every minute, basically. And it's just, yeah, it's, as I said, a free oh shit heal if you're about to die. It helps a lot. And if you combine it with Innate Resolve, Regrowth and Frenzy Regeneration, healing is increased by 18% on yourself. Once again, this is my conduit because it's 213. It's 18%. It can be lower if you have it. And you wonder, well, why do you have two defensive conduits? Because that's also defensive. It's because of the recent fix for Nia's Tools Burrs. You're going to want to use Nia Tools Burrs. It's the new top DPS thing you can get. It used to be bugged, where it would not proc on anything that can't be CC'd, so it never worked on bosses. And in turn, making it basically not good. But they fixed it, and it works on bosses now. And now it's just free damage. So basically what it does is your damaging spells has a chance to launch a trap at the target that slows them and does a dot for 6 seconds for 4k damage. Obviously damage may vary from, I'm not sure where it takes it from, but mine was like 3k yesterday, and I think it might be item level. So damage may vary. So that is the conduits I recommend using. Then, legendary, before we get to stat priority. The legendary you're going to want to use is called the Balance of All Things. And it is entering Eclipse increases your critical strike chance with arcane or nature spells by 40%, decreasing by 8% every 1 second. So basically, it's just, you don't even have to actively try and use it. Well, you do. Your rotation will revolve around it a little bit. Just make sure when you enter Eclipse, you use a lot of spells for the first 5 seconds, I believe it lasts, and then it's gone. So that is what you're going to want to use as Boomkin Legendary, Talents, and Conduits. Now for stat priority. So the stat priority is pretty simple. It's Intellect, Mastery, and then Versatility for Night Fae. There is different stats for Kyrian, so if you're Kyrian, I recommend you go look that up. Unfortunately, I will not have a Kyrian guide because, as I said, I feel like right now, Night Fae is just the place to be as a Druid. I don't know why you would not be Night Fae. Convoke is just such a strong spell. And I don't see it getting nerfs, to be honest. I feel like other other covenants might get buffed to get on Convoke's level because, contrary to what everyone's saying, Convoke is not OP. It just bursts and then it's gone. So I don't feel like it's that strong. It's good. I mean, it's strong. Don't get me wrong, I'm saying, contradicting myself a little bit here, but like, it's what I'm trying to say is it's not good for sustain. It's just burst. So you do like a burst of damage and then it's done for 2 minutes. So I don't think it will get nerfed because of that reason. If it was like constantly, you know, doing what it's supposed to be doing, it would have gotten nerfed. But I mean, we'll see. It's on the PTR right now. If something significant changes, I will have to update this guide. But if you enjoyed this guide, please like and subscribe, and I'll be making more of these type of videos. It might take a while. My uploads are slow as fuck, and I'm sorry for that. But I hope this guide helps you in some way or another. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll answer as best to my knowledge.